Well, online startup All Things Babies is expanding its footprint in the offline space with the opening of a new flagship store in Mumbai. I caught up with Tejal Bajla, who's the founder of All Things Babies, to find out more about the offline expansion, fundraise, and more. Let's take a look at this conversation. Beautiful store. There are a lot of experiences. It's going to be an experiential store and your first flagship store in Mumbai. And I've heard that you're also planning to raise funds mid next year. Thereafter, what are going to be your expansion plans? Because you are slowly expanding your offline presence. You're primarily an online brand, right?
So we've been a predominantly online brand, but what we've noticed is that, it's about time that the Indian consumer kind of gets something beyond just transactions. And I think our experiential store was a step in that direction, where we said we wanted to build community, knowledge, and not just transact. And that is why we built this. In terms of our growth plans, we have 3 pillars on which we rest. One is, of course, deepening our offline presence through multiple retail outlets, both experiential and smaller ones. The second is obviously increasing our assortment. So, deepening our assortment in categories like apparel and much more. And the third is also creating our own brands for the Indian parents.
So primarily you're into distribution, right? You're not into manufacturing. So you have 2 sides of the business. One is B2B, one is B2C. How does that work? Take us through that, your business model.
Sure. Our business model is in 2 parts. One is that we are exclusive distributors to over 35 international baby brands in India. What I mean by that is we bring them in exclusively and we solve for authenticity and availability both. And then we have a D2C model, which is All Things Baby, both the platform and the retail, where we have onboarded all these international brands which we distribute, and also, onboard other Indian brands which kind of cater to the same premium audience, or even other international brands which are perhaps brought in by other distributors. So All Things Baby, the retail side of things, works more as a curated marketplace for Indian parents, and then we have the distribution.
So help us understand the revenue breakup then from your B2B business and your B2C business.
Correct. So currently our B2B business contributes 55% of our revenues and the B2C is 45. I think over the next year and a half, we would see it in equal sort of.
Right. And you've also given a guidance of 100 crores. You'll be a 100 crore company by at the end of this fiscal. Are you on track for that?
Yes.
And what are going to be your growth levers then?
So we're very much on track for the 100 crore mark this year. I think a couple of growth levers that are going to help is obviously one is the whole omni-channel presence that we are kind of solving for. The second is really deepening our wallet share through building trust and community with the existing audience. And the third is increasing the number of brands that we bring in both through distribution and curation. I think all of these 3 things would help us get there.
Okay. Also, you have 25 more store opening that are lined up in the next 5 years. That's what you've guided for. Are you also on track for that? And talk to us about the fact that you have been primarily present, or your audience has primarily been from the metro cities. Do you plan to expand your footprint in Tier 2 and Tier 3 as well?
So you'll see a lot of, experiential stores coming up in the top metros and also some of the Tier 1 cities. And I think we're on track for the 25 in the next 5 years.
So Tejal, we are talking about the price points now because India is a price sensitive market and your products are on the premium end, for the premium end of the market. And say for Indian brands, with that offer slightly lesser price points like a First Cry or Mom and Me, how do you navigate through that competition?
It's very interesting that you asked this question, Ankita. While yes, our price points kind of make us look a little premium, what we've noticed is even the price sensitive consumer in India in certain categories wants to buy the best for their baby. I think when it comes to the baby, the whole theme of I want the best sits very well. What we've noticed is while they might be slightly price sensitive on other categories, in categories which matter to them, say from a safety standpoint, right, whether it's a car seat or a stroller, they might actually make that purchase for a higher quality product and therefore want to pay that premium, right? So I think India is quite interesting like that.
Right, true. So, but ideally your TG is the premium end of the market, but you do see other categories also cutting into some of the products that are probably safety related. So that's an interesting mix of audience that you have. But you also have a community. You also have a community where you give out experiences, and it's not just a B2C business, but also experiences that you're building. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so I think the whole model has been to really build an ecosystem for Indian parents, and really how do we kind of navigate through trust and flow and community. We run the Mummy Network as part of the group as well, which is a mums community, and they organically share advice and recommendations. Also at All Things Baby, the way the experiential store has been designed is that we have a central hub where we can host lots of experts, have people, parents come in and listen to them, host prenatal yoga, etc. So the whole idea is really how do you build this momentum and not just transact.
Okay. Also talk to us about your product verticals. Are you planning to expand your product category, and what are the biggest drivers of growth? Which categories are driving your growth?
So currently, Ankita, for us, the top categories would include gear, which includes car seats, strollers, baby carriers, etc. Nursery, which includes cots, cribs, and things like that.
Is that by virtue of value or volume?
Both. I would say the top four.
Okay.
Hygiene, which includes diapers and lotions, shampoos, things like that. And transitioning, so the baby-led weaning or the feeding category is the fourth one. That being said, these are the top four, and we are actually looking to deepen our assortment in the apparel category, because 70% of the Indian market, the baby care market, is apparel, and that's a solve that we are still kind of deepening and going after.
Okay, so when you say apparel, there are already a lot of brands that are getting into apparel category. By when do you are you planning to launch a brand? Because you're not into manufacturing, you're primarily a distribution platform or a curator.
Yes.
Of different brands. So
Yes.
how do you plan to go about that?
So to start with, we will obviously be onboarding a lot more apparel brands.
Okay.
But eventually we do see that we would have our own brand of apparel as well.
Are you planning to, intending to launch your own brand as well, not just in apparel, but?
Yes. So as part of the growth strategy in the next couple of years, we would also be launching Indian brands with a modern aesthetic for Indian parents. So these would include, categories like lifestyle, where we would do, nursery furniture, toys, apparel. So we would have our own brands that would come into the fold over the next 3 years.
All right. Okay. So you have been profitable for the last 4 years. You're also EBITDA positive.
Yes,
how hopeful are you of maintaining that going ahead, and what is going to drive this growth?
Yes, so we've been EBITDA positive for the last 4 years, and I think even as we kind of build out this whole growth trajectory, we intend to stay profitable. Our things that would drive this is obviously the ever-changing landscape of the Indian consumer. Them making a lot of aspirational choices, and which is why we're extremely buoyant on this category. Another driver is going to be deepening the assortment for us, so increasing the number of brands we carry, and then also deepening our wallet share with the consumers we already have. So I think overall, this is how we see the business.
So Tejal, tell us about the consumer trends. What is it that new parents are looking for? What are the trends in the baby care market?
It's very interesting how the modern Indian parent is now looking at especially this category, right? Yeah. One is really trust is playing a very, very solid parameter and how they're exercising their choices. While you rightly pointed out that they are price sensitive, but a few category, shifts that we see happening with this audience is that, the Indian parent is now not depending on their parents for advice and recommendations. It has become largely driven by peer and community. And I think that's driving them to make all these aspirational choices. I think the second thing is lesser number of children. So every family, because of dual income parents or nuclear setups, is having lesser number of children. And hence, the amount that they're spending on one child has definitely increased. So I think the indulgence has also increased there. The third is I think India is the most photographed nation in the world, right? And that's driving India to make extremely aspirational choices. And we see that playing out in a very big way in baby, right? Because we see that, they're constantly clicking pictures, and that's also what's driving them to buy the best product.
All right, so that was the